Hello, welcome to Metals of Mayhem. My name is Patrick Armstrong. I'm the owner-operator of Heritage Metal Service, and I'm here today to go over Metals 101. It's become apparent that not everybody knows the anatomy of a metal, what metals are awarded for, or why even the monarchs face left or right. I'm here to teach you why, so that we can all speak the same language for our next episode. Now, metals have a lot to do with coins. In fact, the face on the metal of the sovereign is called the coin effigy. But we're going to talk about the anatomy of a metal and what are the different parts so that we're all speaking the same language when I describe each. First and foremost, there's a difference between the rim and the edge. The rim is the raised border around the circumference of the metal. Some metals, typically like coronation metals, do not have a raised rim. In fact, it's flat, and it is part of what's called the field. The field is the plain part of the metal, sort of the background, flat part. The edge is what goes around the metal, where we commonly, with exemplary service, long service, and decorations, will see names, regiments, service numbers. From there, we get what's called the legend. The legend is any writing that goes around the rim. So it's on the face of the field on either side. Quite often on the face of the metal, we'll see the sovereign. And if the sovereign's not on the front, quite often on the back, we'll see the royal cipher, which are the stylized initials for each sovereign. To mount the metal to the ribbon, we have what's called suspenders. Suspenders can come in what's called a flat, straight suspender. There are turn straight suspenders where it actually will rotate because of a central pivot. We also have ring suspenders. And just because we like to keep everything formal, the front of a metal is called the obverse and the back is called the reverse. When we're dealing with metals and the awarding, it's very typical to see a soldier or sailor or aircrew with a lot of medals, and people say, oh, that person's highly decorated. Generically, we can say that, but the reality is there is a difference between decorations and medals. In fact, some decorations are medals, but not all. Another important note is that medals are awarded. Everything from the Victoria Cross down to a provincial medal is awarded. The only medals that are won are in the Olympics or the Queen's Champion Shot, which we'll touch upon in a later episode. In the Canadian Honours Award system, we tend to start with the crosses, then the national orders, the provincial orders, territorial orders, then we get into decorations for courage, for meritorious service, then we get into our medals. For there we have the sacrifice medal is the top of the medals, the war and operational medals, the special service medals, United Nations, NATO, the international organization medals. We have the polar and volunteer medals, commemorative, which would be for Canada's 125th anniversary or for the Queen's Jubilees, the long service and good conduct medals, specifically the RCMP good conduct medal, and then the Canadian Forces decoration, the exemplary service medals, then we have the special medals, and then we get into our provincial and organizational medals. One thing that tends to follow around coins and medals is when they have the face of the sovereign, the coin effigy, the lettering that goes around, which would be the legend on the field. See, we're starting to speak the same language. That Latin always starts with the Latin name of the king or queen, and then we'll go into essentially a breakdown of queen or king of the Britons, defender of the faith, by the grace of God, and then every now and then we would get Emperor or Empress of India, which of course changed by the end of the 40s. Since we're talking about medals, we should probably talk about the sovereigns and why they face different directions on each medal. Although it was rumored to be Charles II who came up with the idea of alternating, so far it goes back to James I, who faced right on his coin. What you have to understand is you're looking at the coin to determine left or right, not that you would be having the coin or the medal on you. So facing the coin determines left or right. James I faced right. Charles I faced left. Charles II determined that we were going to continue this alternating pattern. He therefore faces right. James II comes, he turns left. William III turns right. Queen Anne, she turns left. George I goes right. George II goes left. George III goes right. George IV goes left. Are you still with me? William IV, he goes right. And Victoria, she looks left. Now we're going to take a little sidetrack here. The St. John Ambulance Long Service Medal, she looks right. The reason why Queen Victoria looks right is because it's an organizational medal. St. John Ambulance has the right and the only medal currently to have somebody other than the reigning sovereign on it. However, she's not looking the proper way left because it's not a government issued medal. It's organizational. So to make that clear, she was authorized to look the other way for the awarding of that medal. There's an old saying, queens look right. That's actually inaccurate. In fact, Anne looked left, Victoria looked left, the queen, as we know her, looks right. We get to Victoria's son, Edward VII. Edward VII's coin, he looks the way he should look, which is right, opposite to his mother. However, Edward VII, it's rumored, tabloids beware, was a bit of a mama's boy, and he really wanted to face the same direction as his mom. So for the King South Africa medal, along with several other medals, he actually looks left, even though he should look right. When George V takes over for World War I, he looks left the way he should. Edward VIII, he's supposed to look right. Now we're getting into ego again. Edward VIII, as we all know, abdicated just under a year as reigning the king. And so he loved the part in his hair, and because of the part, he wanted to look left. So he changed the whole tradition, although he should have looked right. So when he abdicates and his brother takes over, George VI, which is Queen Elizabeth II's father, he goes back to looking left. Even though his brother was looking left, his brother should have looked right according to tradition, and George VI wanted to keep tradition. So it's actually possible for 4 sovereigns in a row for a person to be issued medals with all 4 sovereigns facing left. So the Queen's Medal for South Africa, the Boer War, Victoria faces left. Edward, for that one medal, faces left, along with a couple other, but they've awarded that right after. So now you have 2 facing left. If you served in World War I and received the War Medal, George V would be facing left. And if you served in World War II, under George VI, he too would face left. So instead of alternating, that's what you have. Elizabeth II, as we know, she faces right. When she steps down or is replaced by King Charles, who has declared that he will go by King George VII, he will then face left, carrying on that tradition. Clear as mud? I'd like to thank everybody for listening to Medals 101. I'm sure next season we'll carry on with a Medals 201 for more advanced knowledge, but for right now we can continue on with our medal series and everybody is on the same footing. Thank you.